Welcome back to another In Your Face video. This is gonna be another kind of like DragBat tutorial requested by my main man Zico, but also the last one I made really was it was kind of before they nerfed the bat spell, and also I've kind of learned a little bit of some more subtle kind of things about it, so I just kind of want to make a more updated one. And I don't know about this attack at Town Hall 10 necessarily. I haven't really. I think it can work, but to me, in my mind, it's really more of a Town Hall 11 and 12 strategy. So we have a couple different examples here. This is a super solid attack strategy for any of our 11s to learn, by the way. And there was some really good examples this war. So real quick about kind of like what I look for. It's going to be more than just kind of like having a standard army. It's just kind of be more like a tips and tricks kind of situation going on here. Okay, so, oh man, I forget this note every time with this. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so, yep, like that. All right, so what do I look at? First, we have to take note of the splash damage when we're scouting a base here. So, wizard towers, multi-infernos, all of that needs to be accounted for. I also kind of take note of the sweepers, which is here and here. Now, man, it's kind of a lot. I mean, it's not really a lot, but it's actually a relatively simple attack, but there's a lot of scouting work involved in this. You know, you got to really kind of look where you don't. Sweepers, flying into a sweeper isn't necessarily a deal breaker, but it's something I'd rather not do. And if you notice, well, what I noticed was got some good splash damage over here. So generally, I'm going to try to fly my dragons in to take out certain splash damage like that, and then try and drop the bats in an area with very minimal or splash damage like coverage. This area generally away from the bats or the dragons, by the way. So another thing too, you kind of got to be careful. I don't really like dropping the bats with the dragons because the bats themselves will not trigger air traps, but the dragons will. And one red mine will destroy your entire group of bats. You don't want to do that. Also, it wouldn't really make sense to fly into the single target. Sometimes it does, but in this situation, it really didn't to me. You know, because I'm going to have to burn a freeze on this. And also, they're only taking out one wizard tower. That's not really a situation. Oh, and then, like, how would I work out the bats in this area? So I didn't really want to do that. Another kind of thing I look for, and there's a couple different little subtle variations on this that are generally the same. I generally run with 7 bat spells, 2 freeze and 2 rage. The rest kind of depends on the base. Like for this particular one, I decided I'm either going to do one of 2 things. I'm going to drop 1 hero over on this side, or let me zoom out. I'm going to drop 1 hero on this side and 1 hero on this side with the dragons in between. That's one way I do it. Another way I do it, if it makes sense, is both heroes on one side and an electro dragon on the other, and build it like that. The reason why I chose this particular, as you see, I do have the electro here, with the slammer, by the way. The reason why I chose this for this particular one is that I wanted to get some good. This is when you have empty space in here, the dragons can kind of dance around like that area. I don't really like that too much. I wanted to push them in by hopefully getting some good chains on some of this stuff to even cut the funnel. So if I cut that part of the funnel with the E-Drag, possibly even that stuff, drop my heroes here, you know, the king and the queen are going to clear all this in my mind. That leaves a good path for the dragons to go in. I usually use, and I send the warden with the dragons on air. And here, let's actually start playing it here and we'll see. So there goes the king. King always goes down first, followed by the queen, because he's going to tank for the queen. You know, normal activating the ability. There's the Electro starting to work. Also, I wanted to take out potentially this air defense, which I did. And look at that Electro value. To me, that's good value. So notice I do balloons out first. I like the balloons out first because I'm a little skeptical of like air traps being in this area here. I really want them hitting the balloons, not the dragons. That's me personally. Dragons are like the main force here. I'm going to go ahead and drop them kind of like, it's hard to explain. I'll use multi-fingers. Like I'll start dropping them like boom, boom. Oh, not like that, but like this. Well, I guess I can't tap on the screen and show you guys with each, but I try to use like 2 fingers where I'm like dropping, touching simultaneous parts of the, where I want to drop them at the same time, basically. So that goes in with the Warden out, Slammer with the dragons, and they inevitably go where I want them. I'll let him go ahead and take 1 Eagle Blast. I try to time the Warden ability with an Eagle Blast as well as with engaging the CC, if you notice there. So now they're covered. Now, meanwhile, I want to pause this. Now, this is an important, really important thing. Something I didn't cover in the scouting piece of it. So we have these 2 freeze spells. When you are trying to drop the bats, you want to start by dropping on a splash damage, like this Wizard Tower. You want to start there because after you take it out, they have free reign, basically. Now, in order to try to conserve freeze spells, you really want to keep an eye out for splash damage defenses that can be distracted by a giant. You may have noticed these giants. I had 2 giants in my composition. I noticed that because this Wizard Tower has this range, I could actually distract it with a giant and do it like that. This same thing over here, if it came down to it. So basically, I'll put my rage down first, drop the giant, and after it's distracted, I'll go in with my bats. Like so. And because the Wizard Tower is firing there, it took him out. And look at this bat value. With no splash damage. Now, this one's being tanked. This Wizard Tower here is being tanked. I think so I didn't bother with the giant there. Electro Dragon goes in CC. And other than that, it's just about really protecting your bats. That's it. It's a really powerful attack. I didn't even need this freeze. Matter of fact, I don't know what I did with it. Probably nothing. But anyway, let's speed through this. Yeah, I just didn't even use it. There's the army there. So that's one variation. Here's another slightly different one on a whole different base. Now, if you notice this one, it's really similar. I still have the 2 giants because I noticed there was Wizard Towers that could be distracted. Namely this one and this one. Those 2 Wizard Towers, I was like, okay, that makes sense why I could have those distracted. I didn't see a lot of Electro Dragon value on this one. In this one, because it's kind of spread out, I was thinking it would just make sense to have my king clear this. The queen, if I drop her on this side, is not going to really be under too much fire. She's got an archer tower here. She's got a bomb tower here. Mortar, which isn't going to do anything. So I was kind of wanting her to clear this, which once again leaves a funnel for the dragons going in. Now, I would be going up against a single target Inferno and an air defense. Let me clear all this crap. So with all this out of the way, I will be going right into an air defense. Sometimes I like to bring a Lava Hound for that. Because I was able to directly target that with balloons, which I'm a little balloon heavy on this one. I decided not to worry about it. Important to note also, full disclosure, I had hit this base before with a Lava Hound and I got 1 star on it. For that reason, plus some other reasons, but I decided not to do that again and kind of go a different route here. Bat value, let's talk about that. This is looking good to me. That's all right. This area, dropping a giant here, distracting this Wizard Tower, rage, bats. They're going to clear all that. Drop another giant over here as they're moving forward, as they're moving through here, to distract that wizard tower. That was the plan. And that way I could save my freezes to freeze the single target, freeze, you know, whatever. If something happened, a giant gets sprung out by a spring trap, you know, different things can happen. It's good to have those freeze. So I dropped the king also on this side so that he would go this way. You got to think about stuff like this when you're suiciding heroes. You need to get the right amount of value from them. Same kind of thing with the queen. I wanted her to take this out and kind of move up here. So let's see that work. Making sure we activate. Again, with the deployment, it's like this kind of thing with the balloons, then the dragons. Starting, by the way, from the outside in. Very important to note. You don't really, you can have it work, but I really don't like dropping them like this. Correct funneling is really from the outside in. So just know that, especially when it comes to your dragons. So the balloons took out the, air defense there. Dropped my rage. And usually right after this is another thing. There's not that much to this attack. But now I have to keep my eye on my troops at this time. After I activate the warden. Oh, I already did. Oh, you know what? Let me back up. Get back there. So I have to focus. I have 100% of my focus on the heroes at this point. And now I have to focus 100% on building the funnel and dropping the spells that I need to. And after I activate the warden, which I guess I never did. Wow. I didn't even that swag warden ability still worked. I literally didn't realize that. All right, I just want to get back to the bat part. So we'll 4-time through that beginning. That's incredible. Okay. So notice, we'll keep special focus. Now I'm not even looking at my dragon squad anymore because that doesn't matter. So I got the giant down, rage, bats, as the wizard tower is distracted, hitting the giant. Drop my other giant as they're moving into this area. Now, they didn't all the way get over there, but still, that was the idea there. I didn't drop this freeze because this was distracted by the dragons at the time. So I still have this freeze. Decided to use it to help the dragons out. I missed the air defense there. Should have got the air defense in there. And then the other freeze on this wizard tower. The rest is history. It's all just cleanup. If you can keep your bats up, they are really quick. They ended up dying. It's okay if they die at the end. I mean, they basically, their job is done here at this point. It wasn't a blowout, but, did the trick. I think there was a couple more. These are all Town Hall 11 ones. I don't know if I'll keep it to Town Hall 11 or if I'll go over a Town Hall 12 one. This was a Bo Pekka. Did Val. Okay. So Val, same thing. She has a very similar composition. She had 4 giants here. Now this is kind of yet another variation. So what she's going to do, she's going to drop her king here on this side of the army camp to go up and clear all this. Now she wants to drop her queen on the other side, but there's kind of a lot going on here. So she's going to tank the queen with 2 of these giants you see here. She's going to drop 2 out ahead of the queen to give it a little more value. I'll do that too sometimes. Because ultimately what she's trying to do here is clear that, hopefully, and get this air defense. That's another thing. If you see that, you kind of want to do that. And she's going to be sending her dragons up the middle. Take note of the sweeper positions here. here, coming in from here. Good idea. And also we notice that this is distractible by a giant. This is also distractible by a giant, hence 4 giants. So she has 2 tanking for a queen, 1 for this one, and 1 for that one. Let's see how that works out for her. Well, it'll be a 3-star. Obviously, we all know that, but... So there go the 2 giants. Oh, let me slow it down. And they were under some pressure, too. These Teslas popped up. Luckily, she was tanking for the queen. If she had just dropped the queen there, it would have gotten no value. But because she tanked it, it got the air defense. It got the wizard tower. You know, she even started taking that out. So now we start with the next phase, which she drops them across like that. Seems to work for her. That's okay. She actually off-centered, by the way. She saw this single target here. She actually dropped her slammer here so that it could get over there quicker. That's not a bad idea. You don't have to just drop it with everything else. Usually I do if there's not a reason not to. I'll go ahead and just send it with the main force of the dragons. But she basically does the same thing. She brought a freeze for that because she's able to save freezes. So she has 2 freeze too that are usually I like to use for the bats, but she's distracting these where she wants to bat with giants, so she doesn't need both freeze. That allows you to be able to spend another one on the single target Inferno to help keep your dragons up. Tomes, good ability there. And now it's time to look at the bat part. So she distracts, rage, bats. She was a little slow on the bats, so she compensated with the freeze. The giant made it over there just in time so that the wizard tower was tanked, if you noticed that. And look at these bats. They just one-shot everything. They group up, just one-shot everything. And they're away from the dragons, so any kind of red mines that get pulled or anything like that, it's not a problem. And then when they're done, they help clean up. So that was a very good execution there. We'll speed through the cleanup. Boom. Let me think. I think there was... I don't know what she did on this one. Yeah, another DragBat. So this was an example of one. By the way, guys, we see this base constantly. This is like the most popular base in Clash of Clans history or something. So another thing, take note again, we have single targets. And these guys, same thing. They're leaving their splash damage exposed. Mostly. There's these 2 wizard towers buried, but if we look at the splash damage we can distract with the giant, boom, boom, and boom. And keep in mind too that you're going to be taking out splash damage upon entry. In situations like this, for this specific case, because we see this base a lot, but it's not always this exact base. Sometimes they'll have different shit or different stuff in the compartments. But this one, to me, it makes sense to come in at the eagle. I don't really want to come in at a single target and have to burn a freeze in this situation. I'd rather come in at the eagle and bat at one of the Inferno locations. This particular one, because there is a lot on the out, or there's some good E-drag value here, which we'll check that out. Now she opted to try and take out this archer tower. And well, let me explain why. So she wanted to take out this archer tower so that she could drop the E-drag here and it could chain all this, right? Could chain all that. Meanwhile, she could suicide her heroes, get this stuff, dragons up the middle. Just like that. This archer tower would have had the... I mean, one archer tower hitting the E-drag is not that big of a deal. If you can pick off another archer tower easily, that's always a good idea. This is why she did this. So we'll see her send one more balloon at it. So now the E-drag comes down and starts chaining. Suicide heroes over here, taking out one of the splash damages and also clearing the funnel. Hit the ability. Yeah, E-Drag didn't get quite as much value as I bet she would have hoped, but did the trick, you know? So now it's time to the next phase, which, man, I want to play this again real quick just so you guys can see a clear illustration of why I like to drop the balloons out first, is for examples like this. Now you have 5 balloons, or she had 5 balloons in this situation. Black mine. I don't want those hitting my dragons. You know, you only have 10 dragons or 9 dragons, whatever it shakes out to be. You don't want any of them getting picked off by black mines. She goes ahead and eats the first eagle blast, rages through the eagle, and activates while all of her troops. Look at that clutch warden ability. You know, she activates when all of her stuff is grouped up. That's what you want to do. And then it's time to distract over here. She did her bats first before the rage, which isn't the best thing to do in my experience, but worked out. You know, tried to catch them going into the anticipating where they were going to go, which that worked out. Froze the wizard tower. Could have probably froze this single as well. Opted to freeze that though. That's okay. Out pops an E-Drag. Huge. Super clutch. Look at those bats doing work. Yeah, and so, you know, your bats up like this, you can't, if they leave their stuff distracted, you know, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this attack with on bases that have multi-infernos, but I don't know if you guys noticed, but most of the clans we're going up against, they're running singles. I mean, we run singles. That's just how it is. You know, I think maybe when we start getting up against people that are running multis, this is a lot less viable because you got 2 extra splash damage to think about. 1 multi is okay because, like I said, if you can go in at one of the multis, you can go in at the splash damage. Actually, you know what? I will show that. That was in that situation with my main base here. So this is Town Hall 12. All that was Town Hall 11. This is also a viable Town Hall 12 strategy. I use it all the time. So this one, though, they're running 2 multis. Wait, where's the other one? Yeah, right. Okay, right there. 2 multis. But I was like, At first I was like, I can't really do DragBat, but then I'm like, wait a minute. If I just come in from here, I'm taking the splash damage out. And there's an extra kind of layer with Town Hall 12 because you also need to worry about the Town Hall. The Town Hall is also splash damage. I actually made a mistake in this one because another kind of subtle difference when you're doing the Town Hall 12 is that you need to actually use the warden ability to get through the Town Hall. You really do not want that big bomb going off and killing all your stuff. But I saw some very good, you know, same exact kind of thing. Look at the splash damage. This guy's just leaving them exposed. You know, they're all on the outside. So I got some giants here to distract. I end up switching this to the slammer. I build it myself, so you can toggle it when that's the case. I saw some good potential for E-Drag value, and also I'm more liable to switch to do little stuff like go in with less dragons, I should say, because when you're a Town Hall 12, you can fit 40 in your CC, so that's 2 more dragons. So really, I have 11 dragons. And we can just kind of watch this. Like I said, this is mostly a Town Hall 11 video, but figured I'd just throw this out there to show that it still can be done with even with multis. So I decided to suicide the heroes there because I wanted that air defense. And also I was able to get this wizard tower down with the chain from the E-Drag. Kind of got fortunate here. Didn't go exactly as I planned, but the queen ended up actually taking out the CC, which was interesting. I did not plan that. And also the air defense, which is really what I wanted her to do in the first place. So that worked out great. You know, like I said, there's no danger from the multi, really. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Funnel wasn't the best because of this storage, but it worked out. So here comes my mistake in a minute here. I raged somewhere over here. but I tomed a little early. I must have had Town Hall 11 on my brain. Because I actually, and this is a good look at the consequences of not toming over the Town Hall. The dragons hold up pretty good, but I froze it because I realized, I was like, oh no, I didn't tome. But look at all this. Boom. They all just disappear. If you guys notice, I did the same thing over here. Distracted with the giant, dropped the rage, sent him around. So yeah. Just try and practice it. It's hard to, there's no set way to do it. If you notice, like, all these attacks, they're all very similar. Sometimes it makes sense to have an Electro Dragon, but it's not going to make sense to have an Electro Dragon if there's no value there. If the value's not there, if you're just dropping it right in range of an Expo or right in range of an air defense, that's not good value. You're not going to want to do that. It's going to get a couple chains off and go down. You don't want to throw it out. There's 30 housing space. You got to think about it, So just try and play around with it, and good luck.